Hey everyone, this is Tallneck Tech, and today I'm going to be building a PC inside the Fractal Terra. The Fractal Terra is a mini ITX PC case that features an aluminum anodized body, a walnut cover, and a fully adjustable spine that allows it to accommodate larger graphics cards like the RTX 4070 and 4080. I really wanted this PC to be something that was dependable but also beautiful, so I ended up going with the ROG Strix Mini ITX motherboard and the Intel 12600KF CPU. The 12600KF is a price to performance monster. It's a 10-core CPU that features 6 performance cores clocked at 3.7 GHz normal clock speed and 4.9 GHz overclock speeds. A lot of people who build in the Fractal Terra will go for the Ryzen 7800X3D as a CPU, or even the Intel 14700K, but the way that I see it, it's much better to use a CPU that you know won't thermal throttle, even at its highest clock speed. For my money's worth, that's the 12600KF. I also replaced the stock CPU socket bender with the Thermaltake LGA 1700 socket bender, which reduces the CPU temps by 8 to 10 degrees Celsius. For RAM, I use 64 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance memory, clocked to 4800 MHz. Corsair makes some of the most dependable memory out there. I've used Corsair memory in over half my builds, and I've never had it fail in one of my computers. For storage, I went with the Samsung 980 Pro 2TB. This is an NVMe M.2 Gen 4 that caps out at a read speed of 7,000 megabytes per second, and this is an especially good option for anyone who plays games because it brings the load times down to almost nothing. I have a 980 Pro in my PS5 and my PC at home, and they rock. To cool the CPU, I went with the Noctua NHL12 Ghost S1. It's a low-profile cooler that's pretty much unmatched. It runs at a temperature of about 34 degrees Celsius idle and somewhere in the ballpark of 64 to 68 degrees at full load. The other thing that's nice about the Noctua Ghost is that because the fan is behind the heatsink, there's no interference between the fan and the side of the Fractal Terra. In mini ITX cases, sometimes the fans get a little too close to the side of the case, but with the Ghost, that's not a problem. I started out building computers for audio engineers, so all of my builds featured Be Quiet fans or Noctua fans, and some 15 years later, all of my computers still feature Be Quiet and Noctua fans. After hitting the CPU with a little scrub-a-dub-dub, I put on some MX6 thermal paste, which at the moment is my go-to thermal paste, not just because it goes toe-to-toe with most thermal pastes that are twice its price, but because it's just so easy to work with. To add some extra airflow to the case, I went with a Noctua Slim 120mm fan. I decided to use the white dampening pads because I thought it would look really cool with the white RTX 4070. After placing the fan underneath the power supply and tightening a couple screws, it's time to remove the GPU riser and install the motherboard into the Fractal Terra. For power, I went with the Corsair SF750 80+ Platinum. It's a fully modular SFX power supply that has an incredibly quiet fan and can handle the 4070 and the 12600KF even at max load. One thing a lot of people don't know about power supplies is that by overspeccing them, you ensure that they're stable even at higher wattages, because when you run a power supply at max load for an extended period of time, it degrades the power supply until eventually it stops running. My rule of thumb is to just use a slightly beefier power supply than needed. After everything's all hooked up, it's time to set up the GPU riser and install the RTX 4070. The main reason I went with this card is because, given the thermals of the Fractal Terra, this Asus 4070 fits perfectly. The thermals are exactly where you'd want them to be, and it exhausts out the top of the case. After a couple hours of cable management, the inside of the Fractal Terra is looking really nice. Mini ITX cases can get pretty cramped, but I was very surprised by how spacious the Terra was, and I love the look of the white Asus 4070 against the jade green of the Fractal Terra. After a quick first boot, it's time to install Steam and load up my favorite game. Elden Ring ran perfectly at 1080p. You could barely hear the 4070 going, and the Noctua Ghost was almost completely silent. This was an incredibly fun build to do, and if you're interested in purchasing this computer or any computer in the Fractal Terra, I have links to my website down in the description. I offer PC building services along with refurbishing and repairs. If you're interested in getting a new PC or fixing up your old one, give my website a look and use the code TALLNECKLAUNCH at checkout to get $50 off the order of any computer. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like and subscribe for more PC builds and info about what's going on tallnecktech.com.